The sharks are hungry. The sharks are very hungry. Wait, what sharks am I talking about? Anyway, that was definitely a very weird start, primarily because I had no idea how to start a video today. But in any case, I've had a little problem lately. I was basically unable to decide what ship to fly. Now I've built approximately 4. I'm actually working on a 5th cruiser now. 3 of those 5 cruisers are integrated, so you can imagine how much ISK I burned to build these things. And you will laugh when you hear this, but only one of these cruisers is actually kind of satisfying to my standards, and that ended up being the Chameleon. Now I've had that Chameleon for a very long time. I didn't really have much use for it for months actually, but I finally decided to put that thing to work, and I gave the thing a good build, I would say. And tomorrow hopefully we might even get a free nanocore for it. I don't know, the patch notes were a little bit odd, so I'm just having my fingers crossed for a free nanocore for the Chameleon. But out of those 4 or 5 ships, well, 4 ships currently, only the Chameleon is actually, somewhat acceptable to my standards. I'm a little bit mad about that, but yeah, it's fine. I don't know what I'll do with the other 3 or 4 cruisers that I'll build, but I feel like I might just go back to the Stratos, and I might just make this my main ship, and I might just fly this thing all the time. This is the ship that I don't feel like ever disappointed me when it comes to its performance. The only one who disappointed this ship was me, with a couple mistakes I made with it a while ago. But for the most part, when it comes to consistency, this thing was 100% consistent, and I will definitely fly the Stratos perhaps as my primary ship. But that's kind of the problem I have. I can't decide what thing to fly, but it has to be a cruiser. That's the only requirement anyway. And besides the Stratos, there is the Enforcer, which is a very odd ship, and a ship that I personally
Warp drive active.
like, but it's definitely one of those ships that I am never happy with. It doesn't matter how I build it, I always complain about something. In any case, we are chasing, actually I actually thought I was in the Enforcer. This is the Cells, ship that I occasionally fly nowadays. We have been chasing this Tempest fleet, and a little fun fact, this is the same Tempest fleet that we have chased last time. The same Tempest fleet that escaped back when we were fighting the Raven Navy. We couldn't find the Tempest. They pretty much vanished pretty quickly after we finished with Raven. And a couple days later we stumbled upon the same ship. So this time we are definitely not going to be missing out on this ship. Now there's a little problem though. I don't have the right ship for this encounter. Usually when I am in a fleet, I am flying a ship with electronic warfare ability, or if I'm flying the other DPS ships, I make sure that I have a EVOR build to help out my teammates with avoiding taking damage. Now in this case, I pretty much picked the ship the way it was in the station, with 3 points, which isn't exactly a big problem. Usually when I'm solo I fly the cells in such a way when I'm in null space. It works really well for the most part, but when you're fighting ships that do have tracking, yeah, that's a big hit. So good thing is I do have a damage control. I do have, I think that's a generator, but I could be wrong, either a generator or a extender. But that Tempest made me the primary target, which isn't a big problem.
Warp
The only
drive
problem
active.
is I'm not really prepared for this encounter, not exactly the right build for it. The good thing is I took damage, the Fiend did not take damage, which gives the Fiend enough time to boost back the shield and to recover capacitor a little bit. However, I will have to go and repair. I will return, but this is kind of the thing I was talking about on the start of the video. Me being
drive
undecisive on what ship to fly, leading to some pretty funny encounters and pretty much what I would consider maybe mistakes, because I wasn't really thinking properly and I didn't really build the ship the way it should be built when it's in a fleet. But in any case, I wish I picked some tracking disruptors. I would definitely refit
Docking
right here in
request
station, but I didn't. As I mentioned before, I forgot about that. I should carry my fit with me. That's something I need to do. Anyway, ship prepared. So let's go back
Undocking.
right to the Tempest fleet. Now, the good thing is, our Fiend has a very good fit, a very good tanky fit, so it's able to hold the Tempest, but still, it's a Tempest fleet. They can have some good damage output. Now,
Warp
what
drive
we know
active.
so far about this Tempest fleet, it seems that they have good tracking. Now, technically, if I get closer, I should avoid taking hits, but I have a strong suspicion that this Tempest has a bunch of tracking computers installed, and that means one thing, it will track. So if I can't outmaneuver it, then I need to be able to out-tank it, but since I don't have tank, I just need to be fast and repair when I take enough damage. So basically, what I do, I unload barrage, I unload my implant or whatever I already have, then I take range and I
Warp drive
warp
active.
out. I go back to the station, I repair, and then I'm back in action. And thankfully this system does have a station. That's the saving part in this whole encounter. This time I was fast with the warp out. I didn't really take any armor damage, but yeah, if you have no resistance, then a battleship will just cut through your shield armor like no big deal. The damage control can withstand
drive
like
active.
18 seconds. The shield extender can also absorb some hits, but definitely not enough against this particular opponent, because I'm now 100% sure that they have a bunch of tracking computers, which I could counter with the RB. If I had the RB, there would be no issue. I would be able
Docking
to orbit
request accepted.
without any problem, because the RB pretty much cripples the turret performance on any ship. So yeah, this is why in most videos that you see me doing when I'm in a fleet, I usually have E-ward just for encounters like this, and I feel like this is a perfect example of why I actually fit the ships that I usually, the way I usually do fit them. In any case, doesn't matter.
Warp
Let's go
drive
back.
active.
Let's go back, and there is a little problem. Above all, the Fiend is running out of fuel, so we have to take out the Tempest before the fuel runs out, because nothing is going to be able to hold the Tempest from warping. Okay, third time, and the Tempest is in hull. Wanna bet that the Tempest will light me up again? Oh, yep, there you are. Okay, pointed. No, I'll have to last now because fuel is running out. That didn't take long. I said that they will go after me immediately. They go after the cells, but my damage control and extender are back in action. I think it should last long enough. Yeah, I'm going to risk it a little bit and stay. Should last. They are in low hull. I'm also losing shield, but it should be fine. Yep. Okay, that was on the edge of being fine. Okay. They had DPS, that's for sure. Definitely had a lot of DPS on the Tempest. That's a good rate of fire. Okay, well, that was fun. Nice little chase, I would say. So what did we catch? Let's take a look real quick. 9.7 billion autocannons. Well, yeah, as I mentioned before, they had DPS and they had tracking. Explains why they were able to track. I mean, I think they would be able to track anyway, but I would be taking less damage if it were a different fit. Because I already fought a bunch of them, and I know from experience that if they have a lot of DPS, you could see that by the rate of fire, and if they have a lot of tracking, yeah, you could definitely see that as well. But overall, That was a good catch. I have fuel. Let me just launch some fuel. I'm also kind of a portable, like, I'm also a flying fuel tank for the fleet, basically. I always load my ship with fuel to the max, because fuel is kind of what we waste a lot, especially in Null. And with all of these new ships with special modes and stuff, eating fuel for breakfast, you kind of want to have as much fuel as you possibly want. And you know what, it's not a big deal for me to be Evor and to be a portable fuel station.
Warp drive active.
Anyway, next, now we have a bunch of ships. We have I think Oracle and a NullSec. This time I came a bit more prepared. So there is the NullSec. Now, the reason why I decided to go with a Chameleon is pretty much tank. I realized that the cells might work for low-sec really well, and the cells could work really well and will work really well versus some of the other ships. But when it comes to drone boats and bombard, this is where things get tricky, which is pretty much the reason why I'm actually doing the maneuvers that I'm doing, because it's a NullSec. I don't underestimate NullSec, especially with bombard. So I'm basically testing out the waters, because as we can see, the drones have been launched at the cells. There are the drones chasing me, seems like. I actually thought to go after the drones, but then I remembered, oh, I have cannons, long-range cannons. They're probably not going to be able to track the drones. So let me align. That worked. Now there is a Oracle. I might actually go and switch to the Oracle as the secondary target, because it's a medium-sized target. I should be able to do some damage to it. I will ignore the drones. I did pull drones away from our NullSec, so I will just go after the Oracle for now. Okay, the drones lost interest in my ship.
We're under attack.
Yeah, famous last words. I will keep the tracking disruptor on the Oracle, a guidance disruptor on the NullSec. Well, seems like I'm their primary target, which is fine. I'm able to speed tank it looks like. Although my finger is on the damage control. The second I see bombard kicking in, that's going to be the fun part. Okay, I'm still maintaining a decent orbit. Oracle is being destroyed. I did take the damage control because I think the Oracle is also launching, or maybe that's the bombard, I don't know. I just clicked on damage control. Now let me continue orbiting. I think I might have to warp out here as well, because I am running out of damage control. Now I'm down on the extender or generator, but I'm also down on the capacitor. I'm actually more worried about the capacitor in this case. So let me warp out so that my capacitor recovers a little bit, and then I will come back. And or maybe I can actually stay, depends on the situation. I definitely want my capacitor to recover a little bit. It should be stable at 30, but that's not really ideal for emergencies. If I have to turn on the generator, I might not have enough. Yeah, okay. That's the signal that I have to value. Now I'm actually hitting properly. It's just that the NullSec seems to have decent tank, although I'm definitely running low on capacitor. Yeah, I might have to warp out, and then I'll come back when my capacitor recharges a little bit. Primarily because I don't trust those drones. I mean,
warp drive active.
I don't have a damage control active, so hopefully by the time I warp back, the capacitor will be in a decent shape. And I'm thinking, would this encounter go better if I had the Enforcer with longer range, or if I had a different ship? Always pretty much what's in my mind. And the way the Chameleon was made was pretty much after this encounter. So let's go back. Capacitor did recharge a little bit, should be enough.
Warp drive active.
Imikos unlocked, that's interesting. Orbit 24, shield also recovered a little bit. Damage control will be back in action in a second. One thing I love about angel ships is their speed. At least if I have to warp out, I'll be back in action pretty quickly. So I'm using angel traits to my full advantage here, which is speed and maneuverability. And the Imikos returned, that's interesting. Okay, now let me go. Hopefully I'll be able to... What are those drones doing? Okay, let's try to burn the Imikos real quick. Let's try to burn the Imikos if possible, if my cannons will track. Wait a second. Oh, the drones are out. Nope. There comes the bombard. That's the bombard reflex there, right there with damage control. But that little maneuver definitely put me out of point range, and the NullSec took that to the advantage to warp out. You know, I've been thinking, if I had the Enforcer here with longer point, which is about 35 kilometers, I would be able to hold them more. So that could have perhaps kept the point on the NullSec. And also there's the Ortrus, which I might start flying again. 45 kilometer disruptor range on the Ortrus, which can be very fast now. I definitely have to change the ships that I'm flying, because obviously the Celos is not going to work in most of... I mean, it's not going to work in all scenarios. I kind of wish that I had the... Oh look, a Phantasm. That's a rare ship, we're chasing it. Yeah, I will either fly the Ortrus or maybe decide for a heavier, tankier tackle ship. And I'll have to try out the Chameleon a little bit more, and then I'll decide whether I want to go with extra range, which would work really well with the Ortrus. I mean, I used to fly the Ortrus. I do like that thing a lot, so I might decide with the Ortrus with a long range point disruptor build, and maybe even some Evor to go along with it. Definitely the Ortrus is a appealing option for what we do. I'll just have to decide and test things out, but it gets annoying when you have like 5-6 different cruisers and you can't really decide which one to take. In any case, we are chasing the Phantasm. I'll be honest, I haven't seen a Phantasm in a very long time. Actually no, I did see a Phantasm, I'm looking at one right now. I haven't seen an Ashram in a very long time. I haven't seen a Cinnabal in a very long time. I haven't seen all of these ships that became rare, believe it or not. Some of these ships became rare. The Blood Raider Kruor, Blood Raider Ashimu, super rare now. Barely anyone flies these things anymore. Well, let's hope that we manage to catch. I almost tackled the Fiend there. The reflex is kicking in. There's the Phantasm. Okay, let's lock. And let's open fire. Some decent damage. Phantasm now in armor. Once the shield goes up, Phantasm is a really easy target. Or most Sancha ships. They're like cavalry ships when it comes to tank. Okay, let's get the pod as well. There we go. So yeah, the run boats are definitely the ship to to be careful around if you don't have a tank, which I don't have on this thing. I mean, I have a tank, a damage control tank, that is good against smaller ships, you know, good against fast hit and run tactics. It works really well as an angel tactic, as an angel ship. It just, in some cases, if you go with such a build, you definitely want to have at least some Evor to go along with it. Or, you know, Evor or speed or range, which funny enough will not work against drones, because you can't really Evor drones. That's one of the other things that makes drones really nasty to deal with. They don't have any tracking disruptor, or guidance disruptor doesn't have effect on the drones. That was a decent little chase. We got the Phantasm on time. Next we have a Typhoon. We have a Battleship. Lovely. And this is the Enforcer. Luckily I do have the ship icon there, so I know what it is, but that's the Enforcer, which is now using cannons. In a later in a later clip in this video I will be using missiles. That's an older clip, because I actually was trying out to see which weapon system I actually like the most, and I think I'll stick with cannons. I already have barraging plants, which works really well. And the Typhoon is destroyed. That's a good catch. A nice little battleship. Let's take out the pod. This thing actually has a very good range. I'm thinking about getting a snipe implant on the anniversary from the logging reward, and using that with the Enforcer combination. Snipe implant and long range basically with the Enforcer. I think that's going to work really well. I've heard that a snipe built Enforcer is going to work really well, so I might do just that with the tracking computers. Could be a interesting thing to try out with the Enforcer. That's the implant that I'm probably going to get. 754 million is not bad. Does look kind of like a PvP build, or maybe anti-tackle build, I don't know. In any case, it's much better than having missile rigs on a NullSec or a Gila or a Chameleon or something like that, which I actually have seen a lot in the past. Not so much nowadays, but... Next we have a Ashimo. Speaking of the devil, I just mentioned I haven't seen an Ashimo in a very long time. And then Ashimo served. Isn't that just lovely? Okay. Now why is my ship don't orbit, approach? Because of tracking. Okay, that works. And the Ashimo has been destroyed. Let's take out the pod as well. You know, I have to admit though, I do like to use the Enforcer in such a role. Somehow it does feel natural for this ship, at least for me it feels natural for this ship to be in this role. A long range kite support. I do like to use the Enforcer in such a way. And that's a cloaky Ashimo actually, Black Ops Ashimo right there. First of a kind. Oh, actually no, I've seen those in the past. It's not the first time. But yeah, a thing about the Enforcer, I do enjoy using it as a long range support ship, and I actually might go and enhance that with the snipe implant. We will see, but I definitely really want to continue using the ship in such a way. Not perfect, it has its drawbacks, but I do enjoy it the most with that type of build. We will see how it will go with DPS, but that's how I initially want to use this ship for now. We will see if I change that. I mean, I have like 50 different ideas for this thing. Next, we have a Cobra. Now we are fighting on the gate, and what I'm trying to do here is I actually don't know what I'm trying to do. I remember I was trying to swap the implant to long range. I'm also trying to get a good angle and trying to get close to to the Cobra, I should have like 80 or 60 kilometer range. With cannons, I have much more range. And after this encounter, I decided to go with cannons. I feel like that's going to work a little bit better. So, that's a Cobra with offense drones. Definitely going to have bombard, so keeping range for a cruiser is going to be the smart thing here. If I see those drones charge at me, I pop damage control and I basically warp out. Because again, drones are a iffy thing nowadays in this game. Coming from someone who's using drones primarily, I mean drones are my main weapon system after all, that NullSec doesn't seem to have a lot of tanks since I'm doing that much damage and I don't have much missile DPS on this thing by default. So going to keep orbiting and going to be launching missiles. That Raven Navy we saw last time, that was a tanky one. Now that's a proper tank. This Cobra doesn't really feel that tanky. And our Cobra is actually tanking much better tank on our Cobra based on how much damage. Oh, okay, now that explains why. It seems that's a passive tank, probably a glass DPS built Cobra, which explains why it does take damage. Probably multiple extenders or something like that. I need to kind of get a Cobra of my own and maybe try that thing out a little bit. I know they can be very tanky, although I kind of prefer the Domi Navy over the Cobra because the Domi Navy just can deliver a lot more DPS and it just has more options with drones. You can use medium, small, large, any sentry drone, any drone that you like you can use on the Domi Navy. On the Cobra you're pretty much stuck with large ones only. You're at 50%, about 50, 55, maybe 60%, 55% shield on the Cobra. But they did stop, actually they still didn't stop firing. I think both Cobras are within docking distance, so they just need to stop aggroing and wait out 60 seconds to dock, which I believe it's what's going to happen in this case here. Yeah, he stopped, the Cobra stopped aggroing, which means that they're probably preparing to dock. The shield is slowly falling apart, slowly falling down. Bit by bit, but I believe that we are not going to be able to destroy it on time before it might appear like the station is far. It's not. It's a relatively big station and 0 is actually quite large on this station, so expected to see the Cobra dock. It's fine though. Wasn't bad. Wasn't bad. I actually enjoyed this encounter. And after this encounter I said to myself, you know what, I'm getting this thing refit for cannons. 100 kilometer range and more DPS, yeah, I'll take that. I'll definitely take that over missiles. After all, I don't have a good missile implant, unfortunately. But I do have barrage implants and I will have sniping plants, so in the future that's what I'll be using most likely on the Enforcer. Anyway, let's go to the next little encounter. And we have, oh, I know what we have. Now this is not in Null. This is pretty much right before I wanted to make the intro for the video. We have a little mining ship, and I looked at the, I actually been thinking about this for a while. I've been thinking about exclusively taking the Venture 4 and hunting retrievers, hunting procurers, hunting these ships, because I looked at the prices of the mining ships or the equipment, and it's pretty high actually. So I thought, you know what, I might go on a little mining ship hunt and see if I can actually and blow up a bunch of them and see if they drop something valuable. I might actually go and do that, but in any case, let me quickly assemble a Stratus here. And speaking of the Stratus, I really need to return the drones to this thing. It feels wrong to have normal drones on the Stratus. And let me fit a 4th scrambler just in case if I need it, because we are talking about mining ships. Okay, let's go and let's see what
Undocking.
let's see what will happen. So far we have been in Null, and throughout this video this is the only moment when I am in NullSec. Again, I wanted to make the intro of the video and I saw a neutral pop in local. You know what that means, intro can wait.
Warp drive
I have
active.
to blow up a ship, so let's go and see what we have. Let's see what the retriever is doing. And after I'm recording this video, I'm drinking after this video, that's for sure, because that'll help me sleep. That'll help me sleep for sure. Anyway, when I say sleep, my sleep schedule, I actually usually wide awake late at night lately. 2 hours sleep, and then I wake up early in the morning. I feed the tortoise. I let the tortoise walk outside a little bit, you know, stay outside in the sun a little bit, and then I go inside, put the tortoise back in its enclosure, and I sleep for a couple hours. At least that's how I planned to do, you know, things every day. But lately I've been playing this game a lot more often than usual, basically playing the whole day, so there is no sleep. I definitely want to sleep a little bit after recording this video, so hopefully the drink will help me sleep when everything gets a little bit, you know, wobbly and stuff. That'll help me sleep for sure. All jokes aside, that was a little retriever. I feel like Bombard was unnecessary, but I don't really trust any ship nowadays with stabs. Basically, blow it up before it warps out. That's how the Stratus works. Not my favorite way of handling things, but you know, that's just what I have to do nowadays, with 20 plus stabs being norm or something.
Warp
No,
drive
I think
active.
I did get the item I was looking for. The little item that should be expensive. So I'll be taking a look at the loot here for a moment, just because I wanted to see what value those mining lasers are currently at. Let's take a look real quick. Well, that's not a expensive retriever, but that one mining laser, 49 million. I'll take it. No complaints from me. That goes straight to Yita after criminal timer is over, of course. Anyway, we have a Wrath too. I'm now flying. This is the Chameleon, the cloaky Chameleon. I actually have a couple setups for this ship. When I'm roaming around, hunting around, I have a cloak. When I'm nearby base, and when it's just, you know, when I don't expect anything too serious, I have a damage control. This little thing is chunky. I built this ship not to be too expensive, but at the same time not too cheap. I'm pretty happy with the tank. I have a passive tank on this thing, which works really well because it has very high resistance, and it doesn't really take a lot of damage, which will hopefully be further enhanced by the nanocore that will be launched with the next big update, which I've read based on the patch notes. Again, it looks like those nanocores, at least one, should be free, at least for this ship. I don't know, I'm just hoping that it is free, because I would definitely love to have a special nanocore on this thing. Anyway, let's go to the next target, and you might be shocked. You know, might be snowing hell. Demons are having a snowball fight, but me in a battleship. What's happening here? Well, I said I prepared a bunch of cruisers. That includes a Fiend. You know, could be useful, could be funny to use this ship actually, with multiple Fiends in a fleet. But I didn't really build the ship the way I should build it, so I'm not really going to be flying it that often, primarily because I'm unhappy with its build. It needs a little bit more integrations, and I need to put a bit more work into the rigs, primarily on the Fiend. But you know, I just decided to take it out a little bit, and unfortunately a unlucky Venture 2 appeared. I decided to make the Venture target practice, why not? Next, we're back at the previous system, and this time I'm flying the Chameleon in this encounter. Basically the Chameleon serving as a heavy tackle. This time I have the plan to orbit the NullSec, keep the NullSec pointed, but the NullSec did not want to be pointed and warped off. So that leaves only the Oracle 2 at our mercy, which it's not going to work really well. And I'm actually surprised by the Chameleon. Even though this is a tanky build, the Chameleon still is able to deliver some very nice damage with Bombard. I do like the way this ship works. Initially the plan was an active tank Chameleon, but it lacks power, so I decided, you know what, passive tank it is, and so far I'm pretty happy with it. Pretty happy with the passive tank fit on the Chameleon, works really well. Even with the cloak, I still have like 88-90% resistance on this thing, so it is a very interesting ship to use. Next we have another Oracle 2. Let's rush to the other gate. This is the good old RB, which I brought in case we have a Tempest fleet or something like that. With lots of tracking disruptors, I find this pretty useful. This ship is very useful, so I do fly it quite often. Drones are out, launched. Well, that Oracle is not going to be able to hit anything, even if they want to hit anything. Each tracking disruptor gives minus 87% tracking. And I've been thinking, what is going to be better, tracking or range? And that's something I need to still play around with. I personally feel like range is the way to go. If you're long range, if you cripple someone's range on their weapons, they are not hitting anything. So I'm fairly sure I will probably swap the general unit for range. That is going to be hopefully much more effective than tracking, because with tracking, if you're moving in a straight line, it doesn't matter, you will get hit. With range, if you are crippling someone's range to like 10 kilometers and you orbit 40, they are not hitting you, they don't have range. So I really want to check that out with the RB.
Warp drive active.
But overall, I do like the ship a lot. I mean, it's an RB, I have to like it. I do like all the RB hulls out there. This is the RB3. I still remember the days, the old days, when I said that the Stratios would replace my RB, and yeah, that actually happened. For solo I prefer Stratios over the RB because of the lock delay. Anyway,
Warp drive
we have
active.
a Rifter fleet. I included this encounter because it's not every day that you see a Rifter. Those Navy frigates, the Rifter particularly, I feel like it's rare. Usually you see the Tristan, you see the Castrel, they're both kind of the more popular option, but this is a Rifter Navy built for exploration. Okay, you know, this is one of the occasions where I'm not going to complain too much, because they can actually be used for that purpose if you like. And if we get some interesting exploration type combat PvE content, then a build like that is actually going to be useful, and I really do hope that we get something like that. Maybe it's time to poke the developers a little bit to give feedback about the ideas. Next, this
Warp drive
is
active.
the RB. We were roaming around a little bit, decided to see the neighborhood, and we managed to find 2 covetors. One covetor escaped, other covetor got bubbled. So
Fleet collecting fire.
there's the covetor 2. So long story short,
Located
we've
here.
been roaming, we've been camping, we've been hunting, we've been doing everything, and I think we will continue doing that for quite a while. It is enjoyable, it is fun, and okay, well, there goes the covetor, blown up. Nice. Will be interesting to see the loot. I mean, I'm legitimately thinking about just going out and hunting mining ships, because they can drop some good loot, especially if they drop those ion mining lasers. They could be selling out for a lot, actually. I used to have a bunch. I don't know where they are at the moment. Okay, well, it did have some tank and some cloak, but unfortunately that wasn't enough. That's a good catch. Nice work. Definitely a good catch. Okay, let's go and see. Next we have a Thrasher interdictor, a bubble ship. Okay, that's interesting. Let's attempt to lock the bubble ship. I was in the cells. I think clicked cloak by accident, so the lock delay is now in the way. And I stole the kill. Lovely. That's something I did not want to do. But in any case, the bubble ship has been destroyed and pod has been removed. Let's take a look at 178 million. Not bad. A classic bubble build. Destroyer bubble build. I still remember when I was looking at, that was a long time ago, a Thrasher 3 with exploration mods. You know, I understand if it's a Navy Thrasher or something like that, but you know, it's funny when you see some of these ships for PvE, that's for sure. Which is fine, I guess, at the end, but still funny. Heron Explorer, okay. Hopefully some juicy exploration items will drop. I've been also thinking about hunting explorers again. Each time I say that I'm hunting explorers, somehow every single site becomes untouched. So yeah, maybe now I'll go exploration. Who knows? In any case, somehow I did hit the Heron and 263 million ISK. You know, if only drops like these happen when it's actually expensive modules involved, I wouldn't complain. But yeah, I was pretty cheap build. In any case, Heron got destroyed. A good catch. Next, what are we hunting? What are we chasing? I have no idea. Let's follow up and let's see. I'm flying the cells. Okay. Well, the gate is bubbled, so it's just a matter of time. Oh look, a mammoth. Alright. Let's open fire. And destroy it. Lovely. Let's remove the pod from the gate. There we go. That's a good catch. And let's take a look at the loot. Anything of value? Nope. Just a blue nanocore. Alright, fair enough. So, we are nearing the end of the video. I would say, I think it's kind of safe to say, hopefully, there is going to be a lot more roams, a lot more, I've said it before, I mean, a lot more roaming, a lot more hunting, and I think it's going to be pretty fun with the upcoming update. I definitely want to see what I can do with the Enforcer, with the sniping implant. I kind of heard about that a long time ago, and I got interested in it myself. So I think that's the next thing that I will be doing, a enforcer with a snipe implant built. And well, with that being said, hope you guys enjoyed. If you would like to support me, feel free to like and subscribe, and as always, stay safe, fly safe, and I'll see you next time.